I want to talk about e-bikes. Do you love them or do you loathe them? Okay, more than 100 of them have been seized by a council in London because they are blocking pavements after just being left in unsuitable places. And there are often calls for stricter regulations on their use. There are already rules about how powerful they can be, so in effect, actually, how fast they can go. And they're meant to be parked in designated spaces, although, as you can see, that's not always adhered to. What do you think? Maybe you use one in your daily life, in your daily commute. It makes things easier for you. Maybe you're just sick of having to fight past them as you walk down the street. Maybe you've got a pram or you use a wheelchair. These sorts of things, I can imagine they really get in the way. 0207 862 2222 is the number, and we'll speak to you in just a moment. I'd also love to hear from you, actually, if you're in Scotland and Northern Ireland, because there aren't many there. I don't think there's any, actually. Are you hoping that e-bikes are going to make their way to your city? What's your view? Carole, I can't imagine you on an e-bike for some reason.
Do you know what?
I can't imagine you wearing a helmet, I think, is part of the issue.
No, I can ride a bike. I don't do it because I'm too frightened to be on a main road. However, I loathe them. More accurately, I loathe some of the inconsiderate people who ride them. I had to get here today, I've had to kick one out of the way of my front path because I couldn't literally get out. So I move them. I mean, I lift them. It's very hard to move.
You have to, yeah.
And an alarm goes off and there's all hell to pay. It starts binging away. I don't care. So I just threw it against a tree. My neighbour who has... My neighbour has Parkinson's. He's got a walking frame. They block his gate every day. Someone parked in front of my car door the other day so that I couldn't actually open the door. They parked it like there was this much space.
That's screaming environmentalist, isn't it, really?
It's screaming, it's screaming, people just not thinking.
Yeah.
So I have a lot of fighting with these. I mean, I move them a lot.
It is true. People can be really inconsiderate with them, Bobby, particularly parking in the middle of pavements. And I know they probably think that they're keeping it safe. The bike itself is safe, but forgetting that not all pedestrians are on two legs, I suppose. But do the benefits outweigh the negatives?
Definitely here. So while I think we should correct the behaviour of those not using them correctly, I think overwhelmingly we want cities, London, Birmingham, Manchester, and maybe in Scotland and Northern Ireland to have more of these e-bikes because they don't pollute the atmosphere.
How can you say this? There are loads of accidents, hundreds of accidents on e-bikes in every council area all over this country.
Okay, well then let's get rid of cars because there's thousands of fatalities with cars.
46% of injuries that people get on e-bikes, they're head injuries. They have to go, when the ones that go to hospital, that's only 50% are head injuries. How can you say this is a great thing?
It's the direction of travel. The world generally, we need to be more environmentally conscious.
And why do we have to let them be on pavements when they're driving 15 to 25 miles?
That's not allowed, though.
It's not allowed, but they're all... What's the word? It's a phrase that they're called de-restrict them. And they can make... Loads of them are tampered with to go faster. 15 is the legal limit, 50 miles.
So I think it sounds like these are issues that you can fix with the bikes, but the actual concept of having these e-bikes, I think we need more of them in all our cities.
I think when you're seeing an electric bike going more than 15.5 miles per hour, they're not necessarily the e-bikes because they're checked quite regularly. They're more the private e-bikes that people are buying. And you're right, they are dangerous. They can be very difficult.
Pensioners, children, disabled people on a pavement. Why do we let them go on pavements?
Kate from Lincolnshire, do you have much problem with e-bikes in your area?
Yes, hello. Yes, I do. I've had many near misses walking my dog around the path around my local park. The last straw was a couple of months ago. I had to pin myself against a railway bridge while two men actually it was e-scooters, one on a bike, one on a scooter, motorised anyway, went past me, nearly clipping me. And I actually was so incensed, I rang the non-urgent police and they said... for a start, they should have provisional licences. They should be on the road and they should be wearing a helmet. They're obviously probably doing none of these things, but so they certainly didn't have helmets on, and they certainly but they're not sorting it out as your guest said it should be. It's not being sorted out.
I'm guessing
they're mixing pedestrians with motorised vehicles on paths. and there's going to be somebody killed. There probably already has been.
Well, there have been deaths, absolutely. I've put you on the Loathe side without even asking you, because I think that's probably accurate. But what if they were registered? What if we find some way of registering the bike so they do have to adhere to the rules of the road and they can't be on the pavement and you don't have to get pinned to a railway track? Whatever it was,
yes, it was a bridge. It was a bridge. But the police, my non-urgent police woman that spoke to me said they have to have provisional licences. So yes, if it was some kind of anything is worth trying, but they're not. They're just merrily going along, sometimes two abreast. I hear people apologising who are walking, having to get out of the way. It's just incredible. I can't believe that they're motorised vehicles, mixing them with pedestrians.
They're not supposed to, crucially, and they're not allowed to be on the pavements unless they're walking them up to put them in a designated bay. Kate, thank you for your call. Ian from Staffordshire, what's your thoughts on e-bikes? Are there benefits environmentally speaking?
I just loathe them. I use an electric wheelchair.
Okay. Exactly. And do they get in your way when they're parked inappropriately or just generally?
Well, we've got some in Newcastle-under-Lyme, but they take them out and they just dump them on the middle of the road, or they don't park them up.
I think the parking situation is absolutely dreadful. I'll put my vote on there because I always do with love them or loathe them. And I have to say, on the balance of things, I'm going to put love. But I agree that there are some real issues that need to be ironed out. And that is, they shouldn't be on the pavements. They should be in designated areas. So, I mean, I don't use a wheelchair, but I do have a buggy quite often. And it is very difficult to get around them, so there should be more punishments for that sort of thing.
Even if those rules were passed that you're talking about, there's no one to police them, Storm. Nobody. You know, there's no one to police ordinary cyclists who commit crimes. So they're not going to do it with this law either. They just don't do it.
Well, there's another thing that needs to be ironed out. OK, so there's lots of issues there, but very good for the environment and very good for your fitness, to be fair, as well. But wear a helmet if you're out, please. Ian, thank you very much for your call. Bobby and Carole, thank you very much for being such a brilliant panel and for all your calls and messages as well at home. Rob Rinder is going to be here at 9:15 tomorrow morning. I'll be back shortly after him, same time, same place. But until then, have a lovely afternoon. If you are on an e-bike, wear a helmet.